Good morning, ladies. The recipe I'm going to be teaching you this weekend is a 2-in-1. It's a scone recipe and it's a recipe for strawberry shortcake because I use the same recipe for both. The recipe for the shortcake that I'm going to make is going to be one that you could take and add nothing or any kind of dried fruit or nuts or anything like that that you would want to the dough and bake it and have it as a scone for breakfast too. This is my mom's recipe. It's actually a recipe for apricot cream scones. So I'm gonna show you how to make a half batch for your shortcake, and it only has 5 ingredients, so it's pretty easy. So I'm gonna take this bowl and add 2 cups of flour. Then I'm gonna add a 1/4 cup of sugar. That's 1/4 cup of sugar. Then I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of baking powder. Sometimes baking powder gets a little bit lumpy, so you might need to break it up a little bit. And then a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. That doesn't fit in there. So once you have all your dry ingredients in the bowl, that's 4 of your 5 ingredients, just stir it up till it's all powdery and combined. And then all you have to do is add heavy whipping cream. You know I always like to clean as I go in the kitchen, so I'm gonna make sure once I'm done with my flour and sugar that I put it back where I got it from. I just turned my oven on to preheat to 425 degrees. That's 425. I'm gonna take heavy whipping cream and I'm gonna use 1 1/4 cup of the cream to put in these scones, and I'm gonna tell you my secret ingredient to make it extra tasty is a little bit of vanilla. So we're gonna go ahead and do a cup. And just pour it in the dry ingredients. And then we're gonna do a 1/4 cup. And I am gonna measure it. This measuring cup is a 1/2 cup, but it has a line in it at halfway because 1/2 of a 1/2 is a 1/4. And then I'm gonna take some vanilla and just put some drops in there. If you don't have vanilla though, you don't have to put it in there. Now, I'm gonna get a fork. And the fork is the best thing to use to stir this. You want to make sure you scrape around the edges and the bottom to make sure all the dry ingredients are mixing in with the cream. And eventually it is going to come together like a dough. What you don't want to do is overmix it. So as soon as it looks like that, you want to take the fork out and start using your hands. So now you basically just use your hands to kind of squeeze the dough until it all comes together into just one whole lump. And if there's some flour or a little bit of the mix in the bottom still, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. But see how now it's all coming together like one piece? That's what you want to see. Okay, so now we have our dough and we have to pat it flat. And you can do this in pretty much any shape. You could do it in a circle and cut it into like 8 pieces. Do it where you roll it out and cut circles out of it and cut it out. Or you could also, I actually think I'm gonna do this. You could make it into like a square or a rectangle and then cut it into pieces so that they look like little square biscuits. So I'm gonna try that and see how it goes. Normally this makes about 8 scones or shortcakes. So let's see how this goes. That's about how thick you want it. Is, and if you want, if your dough is really sticky, mine wasn't too sticky, you can dust some flour on the surface that you're using so it doesn't stick to the surface. So now I'm gonna figure out how I'm gonna cut this. I decided I'm gonna turn this into 9 little shortcakes. Now that they're cut into pieces, I'll just pick them up one by one and place them on this sheet that has parchment paper on it. You want to make sure you give them a decent amount of space between them. This little guy is a little bit close, but we're gonna leave him alone because I want to bake them off all at once. So here's another little trick. That's the measuring cup I used for the cream. You take some of the cream, and if you rub it on top of these little scones, it makes them really glossy and shiny and bake really pretty in the oven. This is your friendly reminder to wash your hands a lot between steps in this process, because you don't want to have dirty hands and be mixing dough with dirty hands or putting this whipping cream on top of your scones with dirty hands. That would be disgusting. The second fancy tip is to sprinkle sugar on top of them at the very end. This is the sugar my cousin uses for her coffee, but you can use just regular white sugar as well. I would not use brown sugar because that burns. Now we're ready to go into the oven. And the oven is at 425 degrees. But then you open your oven and you realize, oh, don't pay attention that it's kind of dirty. This rack that you're gonna put your scones on needs to go right in the middle. And normally I check these in 12 minutes, but since I did 9 scones instead of 8, I'm gonna set my timer for 10 minutes. Since they're a little bit smaller, I don't want them to overcook. So we're gonna see how they look in 10. Now I'm gonna do a little check, and if they lift up easily and are brown on the bottom and are light, they're done. These need a couple more minutes. After 4 more minutes, you can see the tops are getting a little brown too. They are finally done. So now we need to leave them to cool. While they cool, we're gonna prepare the strawberries. Now you don't have to use strawberries. You could literally use any berry or fruit. You could even use a pear or a peach, but I'm going to use strawberries because that's what I already have, and show you how to prepare them to make them juicy and delicious for your shortcake. Equally as important as washing your hands is washing the strawberries. Now that your strawberries are all cut up, you can drizzle them with honey or sprinkle them with sugar. I'm going to use honey. And this little bit of sugar helps them get juicy and bring out all of the natural sugar that you're going to want to soak in to our little biscuits. Give them a little stir and then let them sit to get nice and juicy. I let my strawberries sit for about 20 minutes. See how there's that juice pooling up in the bottom? Now I'm gonna take my little biscuit. I took a bite out of it, I'm gonna be honest. Top it with some strawberries. Put the other top back on. And then all you need to do is top it off with a dollop of whipped cream. There's your strawberry shortcake. Enjoy!